Good morning. It is Monday, November 28th. My wife turns 26 again today. So if you see her in the streets, I didn't mean it that way. Say happy birthday to her. We're going to move on. We are now 90 days out from beautiful downtown February 26th. Our dear friend James Shaw this morning on the Pivot Shift Ahead call made a great point. He always reminds us as we get to this time of the year that we should, beyond the shadow of a doubt, have 15% of our 2023 goals under contract by January 1st. So, again, a lot of people might not be back to work today. There's a lot of people in our industry that have their feet up for quite some time, and they'll be back in the spring, or they won't be back in the spring. A friendly reminder to go steal cheese this week. There's so many great opportunities to check in with your people, find out what they did for the holiday, find out what they're doing for the upcoming holidays, whether they're celebrating Hanukkah or Christmas or Kwanzaa, whatever the case may be. Are you checking in with your people? The conversation is the relationship. If you've ever read the book, great book, first book of the week, Susan Collins, which is Fierce Conversations. The conversation is the relationship. So when is the last time you talked to your people? Wildly important. We get into those conversations this week. That's how we're going to measure our business. Are you talking to enough people? Are you creating enough opportunities for your business to come up? So when it does, you can ask the people that you know and love and trust who they know that you can serve. So we're getting into it for the rest of today. You've got at 1 o'clock, Ask the Brokers. That is on Keller TV. And then the Associates Growth Call is coming up at 2 o'clock. And that is on the link, of course, is in the morning news. That is on the Zoom for the region, which the link is right there in the news. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we've got Conversations and Scripts Practice. That's always Tuesdays at 11. That's on Keller TV. And a vitally important class. If you can't wrap your arms and your heart around pricing, if you're on the struggle bus, if you're looking for another way to attack the conversation besides using a CMA tool, if that's not your jam and you've heard us say absorption and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? Our dear friend Jennifer Vachon is going to explain that to you guys. She teaches a phenomenal absorption class. That's tomorrow. That is at 12 o'clock noon. She's going to be in the training room in Meredith and also on the Zooms. So be locked and loaded if you plan to be in Meredith tomorrow for 12 o'clock. Great. If you just want to go to Keller TV tomorrow for 12 o'clock, she's teaching absorption, a phenomenal class that she will talk about how much is currently in the marketplace, how long it's been in the marketplace, and how you use those numbers to talk to your next prospective seller to make sure they understand when they join the market, they can still reset the market. We have so many people that are waiting for spring, and for them to get into the conversation right now, for them to be one of the only people on the dance floor gives them an opportunity to set the market. And if they're stepping into the marketplace and their particular neighborhood has a few houses sitting around, it has a few houses sitting around. JV is going to talk about the power of the absorption conversation with your sellers and how it can help them understand really what's going on and how to use what is currently on the market as part of your conversation. Because I think we tend to forget, as soon as you go on the market, anything on it we can use as a lag indicator, and the very next person to come on the market in your neighborhood is a lead indicator, right? Because now they used you if they're smart. They used your client's home maybe to adjust their pricing conversation with their sellers. So, and I'll say it. Gary has said it. Nathan Dickey, if he were here, he would say it. It is impossible in any market to underprice a home. And JV will deliver absorption tomorrow at 12. She'll be in Meredith for that, and then also on the Zooms. So if you want to hit her for Keller TV, you can do that as well. The One Thing series continues. That is also tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Vision Board Night. So tomorrow in Portsmouth from 4 to 6, Virginia Frost is going to host Vision Board Night. The purpose of doing a vision board, most of you have been, you're either, I know James Shaw is delivering one. We're doing next Thursday at the Public Library in York. It is going to be our 5th and final business planning clinic for the fall. We'll do another business planning clinic. We do a halftime business planning clinic at the end of June because that's ultimately the 15th protocol for the year. What invariably happens when people do business planning clinic or any kind of goal setting opportunity? You do your 411, you do your 135, you have all these conversations with yourself, with your coach, with your team, with your rainmaker. And then all these notes and all these hopes and dreams sometimes get stuffed away at the bottom of a desk drawer. And even if you do, because I know a lot of teams do this, if you have a private office, a lot of teams will hang their 411s and their 135s on the back of the door because they're happy to share, because the 411 can be very personal. There's a personal side to the 411. If you don't want to share that with the universe, I appreciate that. If you want to share it with your team for accountability, that's awesome. But still, it's just a piece of paper with a bunch of words on it, right? Numbers and words, words and numbers. And that, we talk about how we have to take the language of real estate and emotionalize it for our clients. Well, we have to take our language, our numbers. Numbers are the language of business, right? We have to take those numbers, we have to take the words and the goals that we set, and we have to romanticize that for ourselves. And a great way to do that, this is what's happening tomorrow from 4 to 6 in Portsmouth with Virginia in the training room, is a piece of poster board. For those of you who still actually read tangible magazines, you've got all your magazines, you've got pictures that you might have printed off the intertubes. Doesn't matter where you get the images from, but you're making a visual display of your goals. So it's the vacation that you want. It's the SUV that you want. And want equals lack. So the goals that you're setting for yourself, right? That you desire. It's whatever you need to visualize to bring it to life for you. So when you have that hanging over your desk, and wildly successful people will have them over their desk, and as they hit their goals, they're just going to put a big green or red check mark on top of the vehicle they got, the vacation they took their family on. It's an ever-present reminder of what you are or aren't doing. Because everybody says, like, and you guys will say this all the time, and we'll talk about this in Business Planning Clinic next Thursday. Hey, well, you know what? I got to tell you, Tim, my kids are my why, or my family is my why. And I understand that. I appreciate that people say that and they feel that way. I'm going to challenge you to go a little bit deeper. The book from Simon Sinek, Sinek, Simon Sinek, his first ever book called Start With Why. He challenges us to think a little deeper than that. And it's not that your family can't be part of your why. Your loved ones are involved. But your why was part of you before your family came along. Your why has always inherently been part of you. So as you start to think about what your why is, if your family is part of that, I trust they are, whatever your goals are for the next 12 months, for the next 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to talk about someday goals and how we chunk them down. Vision board night tomorrow, 4 to 6 in Portsmouth with Virginia. It's a great way to take all the numbers and the words and romanticize it and emotionalize it for you. And it's a great talking piece when people come into your office. If you have a home office, when your family sees that. What is this all about? Oh, these are all the things I'm going to kick ass and take names and take care of for you and your brothers and sisters. Or your cats. Or maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just your spouse and your partner. It doesn't matter. But taking those goals from Business Planning Clinic and visualizing them so you can look at them as a constant reminder, this is why I do what I do. So I can capture these things, so I can achieve these things. You'll notice in the bold classroom, one of the bold laws used to be be, do, have. And they took away have and they replaced it with achieve, because things that we have can be taken away. Achievements are ever present. So the numbers and words you create for yourself when you're cobbling out your goals and writing things down, we want to make sure we visualize and romanticize and emotionalize those for ourselves. That's what the vision board class is all about tomorrow. That is 4 to 6 here in Portsmouth with Virginia in the training room. So if you have time in your calendar, it's a great opportunity to get together with your fellow agents. Share your goals with them too. People are going to see what's on your vision board. It's a great accountability piece as well. Just a thought. Trust you can make it. That's tomorrow, 4 to 6 in Portsmouth. Contracts class, we are back at it. That is on Wednesday. And of course, we run the full gamut all week, all morning long. It looks like we have Maine at 10, New Hampshire at 11. I'm not sure what's happened with 9 o'clock. We'll find out. I'll bring you that information. I just see 10 and 11 right now. And then Brad Kelly on November 30th is doing, and that would be Wednesday as well. I apologize. That is 12 noon in Portsmouth. After Contracts is doing a renovation lending. And then as we get into the end of the week, we have, of course, Wealth Building with Mark King, and that is always at 8:30 on Fridays. And then Back to Basics with our brokers at 1 o'clock, and then so forth and so on. That takes you through the week. Most importantly, I would say make sure that you always keep time for those contracts. We are stewards of this paperwork that is entrusted to us through our licensing, and the governor is trusting that we are going to take our consumers through the conversation, through the transaction, and give them great guidance. And that's why contracts is so important. There's a lot of people out there guessing. There's a lot of people out there that haven't been through appraisals and inspections. It's a whole new language for them. And this is what we do at the highest level. And tomorrow at noontime, no matter where you are, if you're on the struggle bus with pricing, absorption class with JV is super huge. I wanted to talk to people about the fact that I think we get caught up in our heads about the conversations that we could or should be having with people. And I'm just going to give you some categories to write down to think about what you could be calling about right now. I feel like after Thanksgiving, even after Christmas and Hanukkah, it's a great time to do this. If I was calling my Mets after the 4th of July, I would always do this at the halftime. If I'm calling my Mets this week, you don't have to go in. I mean, you're going to probably, invariably, we go through the Ford conversation, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You can open up with recreation. You can ask what they did for Thanksgiving. It doesn't have to be like, how's Biberty Mutual? We probably know the answer. Most of our friends in corporate America do not love what they do. They have agreed to trade their time for money. They go into the office, they pretend to work in their cube, and then they escape. So open up with recreation. Ask them how their holiday was. So you can dip into, how was your Thanksgiving? Right? And if your first limiting belief is, I don't have a lot of people I can call, Tim, because I don't talk to my friends, or I haven't talked to people since before COVID, I need you to get over yourself. It is adult battleship. It's whoever calls first wins. Don't say that you can't call them just because they haven't called you. The people who win the art of the conversation in the next 24 months are going to save this industry. I'm going to repeat that. The people who win the art of the conversation in the next 24 months are going to save the industry. And I don't mean the industry is in peril. I mean the consumers that are meandering about throughout our industry are in peril. Because absent a conversation with you, absent a conversation with a tenacious and talented and caring agent, they're going to fall into the hands of the morons. Write this down. There'll be a quiz later. The morons that have been stealing deals. I ask this all the time in training. How many people have lost a deal in the last 28 months to somebody who could fog a mirror? And all the hands go up. And the kid that can fog a mirror, it's not their fault. The client that didn't get served by us, it's not their fault. It's our fault. We have to take extreme ownership of the fact that we have sat back and let the business come to us. All of us. Even our most talented agents. Because, and you hear this quote all the time, and it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. The rising tide lifts all boats. Yes. And when the tide goes out, are you going to be on the rocks because you believe that because the water is up, I must have gone out to sea? Or did you not navigate out? Did you not go out? Did you not navigate out to serve more? Or did you just stay on shore where it's safe? Because the water was up. So all things seemed equal. If that's the case, how do we change that? You can start today by changing the amount of conversations you have, the amount of care in your conversations. And it can start with, how is chicken giving? What are you doing for Hanukkah? What are you doing for Christmas? On the other side of that, I would start asking about if you know anybody who is in need of the benefit of a toy for a tot. Marcy Francis and her crew are doing coats. There's a box here in our lobby in Portsmouth. How could you get involved to make sure that every child has a toy? Every person that needs a coat has a coat. We talk about making calls and literally just saying, hey, I'm hanging out with my peers here at the office. We're making food and fuel insecurity phone calls. and say it just like that. Because your friends that are smart, that have warm blood in their veins, are going to ask you. They're going to be curious, because intelligent people are curious, and they're going to ask you, what does that mean? Well, we know without fail that right now people are on the struggle bus. Everything's more expensive. Everything is more expensive. So there are people that you know, or people that your people know, that are struggling to keep their kitchen full. They're struggling to keep their car full. They're struggling to keep their oil tank full. And how can we help? The mindset that you're going to call somebody today and you're going to get a hold of somebody today that's going to be transactional tomorrow, it's possible if you're consistently doing it over time. What's most important is to make sure that you show up with a servant's heart right now. I've said to you guys, Zoe and I want to show up as coaches for you that allow you to make real estate the background music. And I know there's coaches around the country. I know that there's certain people that are wired as high Ds. They're like, nope, you're going to call them today. They're going to buy something today. That's not the case all the time. That's very rare. It depends on the probability of how many conversations you're having. You might run into that opportunity. But the way we show up right now, the way you felt over the holidays with your family, not everybody has that. Or they were with their family and they didn't have the food that you had. They didn't have the cocktainis that you had. They didn't have the dessert that you had. They had the house turned all the way down and everybody kept their coats on. This is real. This is happening down the street from us. So I'm also going to ask you to be grace-filled when you make these calls, because you might run into somebody and they say to you, hey, I appreciate that. Actually, I do know somebody. Now, more often than not, when we're making these calls, hey, well, that's awesome. Well, give me their information. I'll get a hold of them and help them out. No, we have to understand the person that we're talking to might be the person that needs the help. Your good friend might be the person that needs the help. They're doing everything they can do to masquerade as the person that you know. They're barely making their car payments. They're barely making all the payments. Because nobody really needs to know that they're struggling to put food on the table. Or they barely have the heat on. Everything's more expensive. How do we show up as servant leaders? Head down, heart up, service first, sales second. Call and ask them how Thanksgiving was. Call and ask them what's going on for Hanukkah and Christmas. Ask if they know anybody that needs food, fuel, a coat, or a toy. These are simple conversations for us to have. We have to get out of our own way, pick up the phone, and plug into the people that we know and love and trust. When you think about what we get to do, not what we have to do, what we get to do every day in our industry, we are blessed. So charge your phone, crank your espresso, sit up straight, throw your shoulders back, and call your people, because somebody needs your help today. Michael Mayer, 7 Levels of Communication. Today, someone in my town, today, someone in my city needs my help, and it's my job to find them. If I can help today, it is 603-834-2856. Or if you want to see my face in person or on the Zooms, by all means, go to meetwithcoach.com. Meetwithcoach.com. We are blessed to be in service with you. I'm asking you to lean in. I'm asking you to take care of somebody today. Someone requires the sound of your voice today. And only you can pick up the phone and say the words. Super simple. Hey, how are you? I'm sorry I haven't called. Let's take ownership. Let's take control of the industry that we love so much. Let's take control of the people that we love so much, because absent a call from you today, they fall into the wrong hands. They get underserved, and that's not their fault. Have a great